so there we go. All right, welcome back to the Profiting from Your Passion podcast. I'm David Wooten, and first I just want to reintroduce Grant Alexander, the author of Profiting from Your Passion, and his book. Do yourself a favor, go out and get that. And if you don't mind, pick up a copy of Meeting Homeless Jesus, from Believing to Knowing. And today we have a guest coming in from San Diego, California to talk with me. I'm really excited about doing this and this opportunity and spreading just this whole concept of getting more out of what you do and finding greater ways to live our life, to get more out of our lives, not just profiting from money, but profiting in our souls, profiting in our joy. And to help me do that today, I believe he's going to help us quite a bit, is Mr. Kevin Roth. Kevin, he has a website, kevinroth.teachable.com, and he is working on an online course. And you know what? I'm going to let him tell us more about that right now. Kevin.
Hey, Dave. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on. Well, the course is actually up and running, and it's called Creating a Life You Love, Full of Abundance and Joy and Meaning. And you can get that. It's an online course that has actually 8 modules. And I'll talk more about what's part of that. But that's on kevinroth.teachable.com. But my website is kevinroth.org. So if you go to my website, the link for the Teachable is there, and everything you'd ever want to know and probably never thought you'd want to know is on.
And Kevin, I know, and that's where a lot of this leads to, but I know that it's been quite a journey for you to get to that point. Why don't you tell us a bit about kind of your background and how you got to helping others find this joy in life?
Well, if you look at the musical instrument above me, that's a mountain dulcimer, and I became well known for playing that in the 70s. I had a music career, still do, and I was known as a really innovative dulcimer player from around 74 to 84. And then I got into doing children's family music, where I ended up singing the theme to a hit PBS show called Shining Time Station, which was based on Thomas the Tank Engine. So I had a good amount of success, and I had thought all my life that if I had gotten rich and famous, that would equal happiness and health and anything you wanted. So that was a big wake-up call, because it does not. Rather have money than not have money, but you don't need money to be really happy. In fact, most of the people I know who have a tremendous amount of money, like foundations in their names, I would say are probably less happy than me. And I don't have the kind of money I once had. I'll probably have it again, doesn't matter. But my whole background has been basically in the music business. And then around 2015, I had a year where things got very difficult. I was in a 9-year relationship that ended. I had a small little business that wasn't doing that great. Nothing to do with the music business. It was more about Indonesian furniture and food, believe it or not. But the biggest event was that my dad, who I was very, very close to, passed away. So that was kind of a 3 clunk over the head kind of time. And if that wasn't bad enough, I decided that I was going to leave Florida, where I was living, and move to the Midwest, where my sister Beth was living. I'm sorry if you hear a little noise out there. I don't know whether you can hear that or not. Can you?
Little. It's all right.
You want me to shut the window and just get rid of it?
Oh, I think it's good. We'll just keep rolling. It's not loud at all.
Okay. They're doing some construction out here. So I got to the Midwest, and just on a routine dermatology appointment, they discovered that I had melanoma. And to make a long story short, it metastasized. So even though they removed, there was like a little lymph node here and something on my nose, quite small actually.
Right.
They said that there was a 70% chance it would return and then probably kill me within a couple of years because there's no cure for melanoma. So I didn't believe them because I didn't feel that that was the truth. I'm pretty aware of my own body, but nevertheless, I talked to 3 oncologists who all had the same mantra. So I thought that if they were true, and I only had a couple of years to live, I was going to change my life because I wasn't happy. I was very stressed out. I had quit the music business for a time. I was pretty lost, really. And I thought, I'm not going to die in Kansas City, Missouri. Hell no. I'm going to die someplace, might as well die in.
I don't know how many people we have listened from Kansas City. It's not about everybody there. It's not where you want it to be.
Yeah. There are parts of Kansas City that are quite beautiful, especially the part near where I live, but it wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm more of a West Coast guy. I'm kind of go with the flow. I'm a little funky. Midwestern people are not quite that way unless you really dig into the arts community. But I decided, you know what I was going to do? I was going to get a place in San Diego, even though I couldn't on paper afford it. And I was going to figure out what mattered to me. And that's where this kind of teaching, coaching journal and journey began, because there were really only 3 things that mattered. One was my music and being an artist. The second was hanging with my dog, Bosco. He's a little miniature dachshund. And the third was to not live, I wanted to live in San Diego, where it's 75 year round and I could be at the beach or I could be in the mountains.
Sure.
So that's what I decided to do. And I also did a lot of research on Western medicine and Eastern medicine, and decided that for me, what the doctors wanted to do with immunotherapy and other kinds of things was not a good thing for me, and that I needed to change my diet to eating whole foods and healthy. I needed to eliminate stress. Stress will kill you. So, and I'm going to fight anybody that argues. Stress.
I worry about everybody that has stress.
Stress, especially these days,
yes,
really hurts your immune system. And there's no need for it. You don't need it. I became, as many did, addicted to stress. If I didn't have some stress, another record, another tour, more money, more, I was miserable until I decided.
I can relate to that quite well.
Yeah.
If I'm not stressed about something, I'm stressed about what am I supposed to be stressed about that I'm missing.
Yeah, right. So I got rid of toxic people in my life. I took charge of things, and at the time I was in a lot of debt. So my credit had gone from 16,000 to like 400 because of the medical expenses and things like that. But I knew where I was going. I had a path, and I didn't know it here as just here. I knew it here, and I said, this is what my life is going to be. And I also, I guess being an artist, I'm sort of born spiritual, but I got even deeper into spirituality and discovered that there certainly was something bigger than me. And it was something that I thought that God to me was something, me and then God, only to discover that I am God and God is me and all that stuff. So that gave me a different perspective, and I thought, okay, I'm going to just wing it. And so I came out to San Diego. I found a wonderful little apartment, and I was here for a year or two. I wrote a new album, which I entered for a Grammy Award, called The Deviant Dulcimerist. And I was really, really happy. A year went by. There was no cancer. Actually, I waited a year to hang out in Kansas in case it returned because I really liked my doctor. And at the end, he said, well, it hasn't returned, but it might, so keep an eye on it. You'll know if you don't feel well. And I got a dermatologist out here, and I lost a lot of weight on purpose because fat and insulin is one of the leading contributors to cancer. And I got my life together on my terms, on my terms. And one day someone said to me, a friend said, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, maybe I'll start writing a new album. And he said, you've got 50 record albums, Kevin. Like, you just escaped a death sentence. You moved to California, nearly broke. You went from surviving to thriving. Why don't you think about teaching people how to do that? And I began to think about it, and I thought, well, I don't know exactly what I did. I don't know what I would teach them. And I began to think about it, and I realized that there was a certain pattern that I followed. It was basically get up in the morning, make some great coffee, because your life will be ruined if you have bad coffee, dude. Good coffee. So I had good coffee, and I do a sort of a meditation with the dulcimer. I play the dulcimer in something I developed called Dulce Meditation, which is just playing very, very simple dulcimer. If anyone wants to learn a musical instrument, that's easy. You can learn it within really an hour. I mean, you're not going to be Rachmaninoff on it, but you can play it. The dulcimers, the instrument, I sell them. I created this one for Dulce Meditation, and I teach it. And then I developed something on my own called mindful awareness, which is where if I was aggravated, instead of accepting it, I thought, what are you aggravated about? So it can be just about anything. And then I sort of look at it, in fact, last night I got a little aggravated driving to go food shopping. And I thought, why are you agitated? Besides the fact that I don't like food shopping. And I thought about it, and what it was is that I have these water jugs, and one of them had a crack in it, and I thought it was going to not hold the water. So the old me and most people would, well, should I buy a new water thing? Should I fix it? Should I throw it out? What do I want to do? What a pain in the ass. And I just said, you know what? You'll fill it with a little water. If it leaks, you'll throw it out. That's it. You're done.
Right.
So that's how I get rid of things very quickly. And it worked, and it didn't leak, and I have water. So those are the kinds of things that that I do that help me stay in balance, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole lot in that story. There's a whole lot in that story. And,
well, I'll tell you just a little bit more, and then we can jump into
okay. Sure.
I started to teach people this, and one student came to me, and she had anger issues, and that was resolved within less than a month. Another person came and felt like they were a victim of an illness that they had had, and we took care of that. So I found out that what I knew to do and what I did was teachable.
Right.
And effective. And so that's how I became a personal coach.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you became a person. When we talked on the phone, you told me you teach based upon what you've experienced in life, and that's how you know it's real. That there's a connection to that reality. And while some people, and it's not always the worst thing, teach on things that are beyond what they've experienced, but they've studied them enough, they've gone through that. There's a connection that happens when we've experienced something. I'm a recovering addict and alcoholic, and when I talk to others, they may look at me now and go, no way you were ever that, right? But as soon as we start talking, they know, okay, yeah, you've been down that road, you can relate. But when you're going through the whole story, one of the things that and I know this ties into your teaching, that it made me think is that somebody may not be able to relate to the cancer. They may not be able to relate to your specific experiences, right? But I think what almost anybody listening could relate to is that there had to be fear associated with a lot of those, at least initial, right? And then you had to deal with that fear, and you had to get yourself into this position that you're in now. You know, even when we know we want to do something and it's the best thing for us, there's often a fear associated with it, can stifle us, can keep us from those things. And so, you know, my question, what do you have to say about, you know, fear, not just in that process, but in all our lives, and how does that impact how much of that fear is real, how much of it is imaginary, you know, what are the things that you've done to help alleviate that in your life, or to help others alleviate that?
Well, fear, there's good fear and not good fear. When you see a bear coming at you, that's fear. That's, you know, if you're fearful, someone's walking behind you on the street and something tells you something not right, pay attention. But fear is false evidence appearing real. That's what it stands for. When you are a healthy guy and suddenly you're told you got stage 3 melanoma and are going to be dead, you lose control. It's a complete shock. And when the answer is, well, there's a 70% chance you're just going to be dead, you can't help but feel fearful. It's very frightening because we think and we like to feel that we're in control of our lives. We are to some degree, but we're really not, you know? And that gets back down to the mind. So quantum physics tells you that nothing really exists. This is all a dream. So they say, like, the universe is expanding. That's what science tells you. But what is it expanding into? So people say the mind, right? Well, everything is the mind. So if you get the greatest brain surgeon in the world and he takes the brain out and he cuts it open, he will never find something called the mind. There is no physical thing called the mind. So what is the mind? Well, if you watch all of these shows that I watch on YouTube and all these documentaries, whether it's scientists or doctors or Deepak Chopra's or Oprah Winfrey's or woo-woo or whoa-whoa or whoever, I don't care who it is, they'll tell you it's consciousness. So then, okay, what's consciousness? So consciousness is another word for God or Jesus or whatever, but it's not definable. You see, God is formless. There's no, it's if you listen to people who've had near-death experiences, and these are surgeons and, you know, major people, you know, these are not people, they will tell you that life on earth just doesn't feel like home, and that there's this experience of a love and an indescribable presence of some sort. So when you know that and you think about fear, then you need to ask yourself, what is causing my fear? And then you begin to look at it with what I teach, mindful awareness, and you realize that often fear is the feeling of lack of control. But everything happens now. If you're going to be fearful of something that happened, why? If you're going to be fearful of, oh my God, the cancer is going to come back in 2, how do you know that? You don't know that, right? So you have to stay focused and real. And I kind of think of it, you want to think of it spiritually as sort of surrender. How I work with my clients is I ask you, what's your purpose in life? What moves you? You know, I was talking to a psychotherapist who came to me as a client. And she was talking about how she wanted to move her practice into other areas, but she didn't know where. And she'd gone to business associates. She'd gone into interview all kinds of people that she paid good money to tell her how to redirect her business. but they didn't tell her exactly what that business should be. And I looked at her and I said, you wear this beautiful jewelry. And she said, yeah, I love making jewelry. I said, well, there you are. She said, well, what do you mean there? I said, you're wearing your art. You're wearing yourself. You love jewelry. There's a lot of gems that have healing qualities. There's a whole network of stuff related to gems and biorhythms and all kinds of stuff, just with stones and jewelry and all kinds of stuff. And her jaw dropped and it was like, oh my God, you told me in 10 minutes what I've asked. I've spent thousands of dollars and never gotten an answer to. So what you love is right under your nose.
So, well, and kind of back to the name of this podcast, profiting from your passion. I mean, that's, you know, that's tying somebody in, and that's actually where I was headed next with you was, you know, how does a person get to joy, get to a better life by focusing on what they love versus on, I got to set this goal in the future of making so much money, or I've got to have this relationship, or I've got to have this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the first thing you have to know is what isn't working. Right. People are addicted to pain. People are very hard on themselves, and it comes from our upbringing. You know, one of the exercises some of my clients do is I have them write a letter to their inner child. And there's a lot of tears and a lot of healing that comes from that. So when they learn to embrace themselves and have a relationship,
sure.
You know, oh, I want to love her, I want to this, I want them to be my best. Well, start with you. You know, you've got the music, you know how to cook, I mean, start with you. You know, so you find out what doesn't work. If you're in a toxic relationship, if you're in a job you don't like, and really you think about it, and then you say, okay, that's what doesn't work in my life. Those are the things that don't make me happy. What does make me happy? And then you come up with a list of the things that make you happy, and then you get to know why they make you happy.
You know, my wife and I, you know, people will comment to us about our relationship, and one of the things she can't stand when people says is that, oh, y'all complete each other. And it's like, you know what? Neither one of us is incomplete alone. Mm-hmm. You know, we're better together, but we're also individually us, right? You know, I'm me. And I think to your point that so many people look for that person that's going to complete them or make them better, that they're putting a task on that other person that's not attainable. It's not realistic.
Right.
Instead of finding joy and happiness independently and then enjoying it together and then participating in it together.
That's true. And you know, the trick is that it's great to think all this, but you need to put it into action.
Yes.
So a great example is someone wants to lose weight. I don't know how many diets I've been in. I'm an emotional eater. Okay. I was raised that way. Yeah. If I was upset, they put food in my mouth either to shut me up or to calm me, one way or another. And, you know, I lost weight, I gained weight, I did some bodybuilding for a while, looked great, then I put on weight again. And when I got real about it was when I found out that all the fat around my stomach was one of the top leading causes of cancer. So I was very motivated to change. So people may say, well, there's certain things I want to do, and I now know what they are, but I'm not quite sure how to go about it. You know, it's like taking that first step. So one of the things you can do is you can work one-on-one with someone like myself, right? A personal coach, or you could take a course of mine, or you could buy a book. The difference between working one-on-one with a life coach like myself is that I keep you accountable. So if we set goals, I make sure that you accomplish them. And if you're not reaching them, why aren't you reaching them? Sometimes we set goals, we think we want them, we really don't want them. You know, someone I was counseling recently wanted to be in a relationship until she discovered I'm really much happier with a bunch of my friends. I don't want to I don't want the drama of this other person, you know. So it depends how, but whatever it is, you need to take action. And the key to that is that people respond to two things: pleasure and pain. We want to do things that cause us pleasure, and we don't want to do things that are painful. But we keep repeating painful cycles. Okay. I want to lose weight, but I'll start on Monday. You know, let me have the cake and the popcorn and the junk this weekend. How many Mondays have you started this diet over and over and over again? And I think the reason that people can't do it is because they don't have a why. They don't have a really solid, they know they want to lose weight, just as an example. They know they want to get in shape, but they don't have this why. Like, if you don't lose weight, you're going to die of cancer, or you're going to have a major heart attack or something. When they have the why, like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, the whole world opens up. Then there's the internet, there's yoga, there's walking. I mean, there's a whole thing. But you have to decide that it's time to get unstuck and to replace fear fun.
You know, you mentioned kind of a few times surrender, and and then idea, and when I've been sober about 32 years now.
Oh, wow.
And when I first got sober, I was in a hospital room that had me kind of locked in there for detox. And I looked out the windows, the first thing I remember. And after I had been anyway, so I'm looking out the room, and there's a Crown Royal billboard sign right down the road. And look, that was my favorite. That was my favorite drink. I did a lot of other things too, but that was my favorite drink. And when I saw that board, I started to just shiver and shake, because I knew if they let me out of this room, I'm dead. That of myself, there was no way that I was going to live out there. And it took getting to that point to get to where you're saying, a willingness to surrender and allow something else to come into my life. And for me, that's God. And I know you and I maybe define him different, and I know him's not even appropriate, but you know, define God different, and that's all right, because as you said before, we're not capable of even fully describing, saying exactly what he is, and doing it, but allowing that in. And I often see a lot of times that people think they have to, that it's all about them. I messed up on my diet, I'm a loser. It's all, bro. No, you're a human. You messed up, and I've done it. I diet, and same thing. And diet, I think, is a great example for a lot of things we struggle with in life. You know, I diet, I mess up, and it's the hardest day to perform an exercise program or a diet. It's the day after you missed. You know, and it's because I want to blame the shame stuff comes back, all that stuff. And instead of looking at where was I going, and this was just a bump in the road, in my mind, I'm set way back, you know? And now I say, I don't do that as much anymore, because I've realized these things, and I've seen these things, and I've gone through a lot of experience as well. That's allowed me to have faith that I could just keep moving forward. And that's the way to always go. Even when we take a step back, keep moving forward. And that keeps it going. So, and for me, that's kind of where I find my balance, is not in the expectation of living a perfect life, but in the expectation of there will be bumps, and that's all right. It's keeping my eye on my goals and direction that I'm trying to live my life, and focused on that. And there, one of the things you talk about surfboard of life. I think that kind of goes into there. You can tell me if I can't hit that at all, but how do you stay in balance with life's waves? How do you ride that surfboard of life?
Well, here in California, in Southern California, there's a lot of surfers. Right. And they all fall off the board, because that's just the nature of waves.
Yeah.
So life is like the ocean, and the ocean is waves. So it's not so much that you fall off the surfboard, because that's to be expected. It's how you get back on. How do you know to get back on? How do you find that balance? So the thing that I teach the people who work with me is that the first thing is you realize through mindful awareness that something is off. So let's say you're just in a funk. Mentally, there's nothing that you can pin. Emotionally, there's nothing that's happened. Spiritually, you're okay. Physically, you're fine, but you're just in a funk. You don't know what to do. So what I do is I walk. I walk for like 45 minutes. They're getting closer with the drilling. So to get out of my funk, I'm going to rebalance and just shut the window. Give me 1 second. Progress, right? Progress. So what I do is I took a walk. And what that does is it kicks in the endorphins. So your brain chemistry changes. And then I realized what it was that I was in a funk about, which I couldn't even tell you because I don't know. I don't even remember what it was. But that's rebalancing. Okay. I'll give you even a greater example is that I was going to spend some time with a friend tonight for dinner because I love to cook. And I called to invite him over only to hear that he was involved with a lot of stress and drama because of his work. So mindful awareness makes me tune into that. And I thought, I don't want to be around that tonight. I could meet him for a drink or whatever, but I don't want to cook dinner, have him come over and hear the drama. Not that I don't care, but he's been in this situation with work for some time. And I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I hear you.
I just don't want to be there.
Yeah.
I offered him support. I said, how's the resume? Oh, it's going great, but these people, they don't, and that's how life happens. If I invite him over and if he gets into the spin, which probably will happen, I already know that that's not going to make me very happy. So mindful awareness tells me, riding the surfboard says, don't go there. So I changed the idea and I said, I'll tell you what, let me call you later. Let's see where we're at. Maybe we can go grab a bite to eat, or we can get a drink, or maybe we can do this tomorrow, because I know tomorrow he won't be working, he'll be calmer. Most people will just absorb the drama, or if they feel that they can really help, I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't do it. Everybody's different. But to ride the surfboard, I'm having a really pleasant day, right? And I know that by doing a certain thing with this particular friend tonight is going to be a drag. I mean, it just is. It's where he is at this point in his life. When I met him and we became friends, he wasn't here, but we all go through stuff. But my rebalancing is that I'm just going to choose to spend time differently with him.
Right.
And that's going to make me happier. So riding the surfboard is saying, okay, here comes a wave. So I can either ride it properly, like tell my friend, I'm not going to do dinner tonight. Let's meet for dessert or something like that. Or to get crushed by the wave. If I'm doing something and it turns into something I don't like or something that's uncomfortable or whatever, then you need to ride the wave differently. You need to say to yourself, let's say a bill comes and you've already paid the bill, but now they've charged you interest. We all have those situations. Instead of getting really upset and saying, I can't talk to these people till Monday, you use mindful awareness and say, I know I paid the bill. I have a copy of the bill. It'll be resolved on Monday because it's not the first nor the last of these kinds of situations. And that way you don't get attached to them and they blow over.
I can tell you in my business, we deal with customers and so sometimes I'll get word from the guy, hey, the customer's a little upset about something, and sometimes you want to go, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. But the reality is it has to be dealt with. So that's part of the mindful awareness would be, does it have to be dealt with or not? If it's something that I can't just put away and it's done, for me, it's almost always better to just walk into it. and take it, because I will spend whatever that time is in between that I've put it off. The fear will build it into something greater than the problem that it really is. And by addressing it, I can get to that. Now, that's not the same as the situation with your friend, because that's something, I have friends like that in my life too, that it just seems that they're not really looking for a whole lot of help. They're just looking for an opportunity to complain about whatever it is that's still going on, that they're still, and putting the blame somewhere else. But
And that's an important point, because people just want to be loved. They want to be heard. So one of the things I've learned to say to people when these situations come up is, do you want me to listen, or do you want me to give you some advice? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, just listen.
just listen. Yeah.
Just listen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot of guys that are good at just listening.
Yeah, but that's interesting. So look at the reason that people don't like to listen. So I have another saying, and that is, do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Right? So
that question can be harder to answer at times than you might think, huh?
well, no, because when, at least the people who work with me, my clients, have learned, because I drill it into them, that you have a choice. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Yes.
Replace what doesn't work with what does work, and you don't go back. I tell a story in my course on teachable.com about the hamburger lady. So she goes through a drive-through, she gets this hamburger, she goes home, she eats it, and she calls a friend and she says, I have a really upset stomach. And she said, what did you eat? She said, oh, I went to this hamburger thing. And she said, oh, you ought to go to the Happy Hamburger. She said, what the hell's a Happy Hamburger? And she said, oh, it's this new place that opened up on the other side of town. It's great there, but the hamburgers are like $20 a hamburger. And she said, $20? I just spent like $6 for a hamburger. That wasn't. She said, yeah, but trust me, they've got tofu burgers, veggie burgers, cha-cha burger, whatever you want, So she decides the next time to go there. And she gets the fries, and she gets the organic milkshake, whatever, and she gets the hamburger or whatever she wants. And she spends the $20. And it's really, really good. She doesn't get an upset stomach. She can't afford to go there all the time. But do you think that she's going to go back to the first place for a hamburger again? No. Who would do that? No one would do that, right? So she's replaced what doesn't work with what does work. When people realize that, as this example, if I have my friend over tonight in his mental state, I'm going to be aggravated. You're an idiot. Don't have them over. Say, you know what? I'm sorry that you're going through this stuff. Why don't we get together like later, maybe for a drink, or tomorrow, let's do brunch and we can talk about it. Because by then I know it'll blow over. And he's got a chance to get it out of his system. I've had a chance to not spend an evening listening to complaining he's not going to complain all night long, but he's, the last time I was with him that this happened, we went out to dinner, and 45 minutes, he was very aggravated until he got food in him and he settled down. So replace what doesn't work with what does work. Show kindness to yourself and them. Show empathy to yourself and them. Don't be a people pleaser all the time. Just treat yourself the way you'd want to be treated. Isn't that funny? Treat yourself the way they say, treat other people the way you want to, treat yourself the way you want to be treated. And a lot of this stuff gets resolved. It's very simple. It's very funny in a way.
I think, treating myself the way I want to be treated taught me a lot about also treat others the way they want to be treated when I can, right? When it makes sense. Instead of thinking, well, if I were in that situation, this is what I want you to do for me. How about you're in that situation? What would you like me to do for you? How can I help? How can I help you the way you want to be helped? Instead of assuming what I would want is what you want, right? And doing that. But anyway, Kevin, this has been great. I'm going to give you a second here to tell us all about, one more time, about your website and your course. I want to remind people, profiting from your passion and meeting homeless Jesus, a journey from believing to knowing. are both available on Amazon. And Kevin, you have your website, your course. Why don't you tell us one more time a little bit about that, how people can find you?
So if the website, my website is Kevin Roth, ROTH.org. If you go to that, you will find my course that you can sign up for. I think it's on sale now for $199. There are 8 modules that you can take at your own pace. It's called Creating a Life You Love of Meaning, Joy, and Abundance. It's on teachable.com. And you can also reach out to me. I do a 30-minute free consultation to get to know you and to see if we want to work together, if it works for you, if it's affordable to you, and if you're ready to change. So there's lots of different options out there. Well, that's basically how to get in touch with me. And if you want to know about the dulcimer, that's how people can reach me. My book,
KevinRoth.org, you can reach out to you about the dulcimer and doing that. Now you said that, so you work with clients pretty much anywhere, right? Virtually.
Yeah, it's Zoom. I also, when the COVID thing settles down, I'll be doing workshops and retreats for people where I go and I talk about this. Actually, the book that's coming out is a workbook based on my course. And then I always add a couple songs, like a little mini concert at the end. So,
okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kevin, I appreciate you coming on and doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And everybody, look forward to the next episode of Profiting from Your Passion.